He's Dearden Kurtenbach. You can follow him on Twitter at Dieter. I'm Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me at Dog Surf Roadshow. Dieter, times have changed. It feels crazy to me. It was just a week ago that we were coming in here. You were really sour on this team.
Yep.
And then that Denver game happened, which to me will be the shining moment for this whole season.
That was the turnaround?
I think so. I really and the events leading up to it, because it was just a game earlier or a post game earlier where the rotation change was announced, and I don't think there's a coincidence there. I mean, granted, Steph didn't play in that Nuggets game, but yes, I do think that's where it all started. We had a great game. Happy birthday, Stephen Curry. This is the longest cold open ever. Are you ready to go, sir?
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. What a game last night. Granted, it was against, in my opinion, the worst team in the NBA. What is your feedback from Draymond's comeback and Steph's birthday performance?
There's got to be a worse team than the Wizards, right? But
I was thinking about it. What do you think?
It's tough. I was thinking about something called the dead internet theory for the entire game, which is a theory in which basically the internet is now all artificial intelligence and that nothing created on it is real. And the bots have taken over to the point where the bots are now the thing that actually runs the internet and humans are sort of the minority on it. And
you're referring to Twitter, right? There's a point in time in recent
a great
history
example, right? Yeah. YouTube at one point in 2013 thought that they were going to have a flip where there would be more bots than actual human users, all this stuff. I say this only as a reference to that's what the Washington Wizards are. They're like the dead NBA theory coming to life, like a place that was created by artificial intelligence just to fill out an NBA schedule. So that's a Kyle Kuzma is pretty good. They're bad. There's no question about it. They can't protect a lick. It's so funny what happens when you add Kristaps Porzingis to a team. They just get markedly worse. But
yes,
I don't think that should take away from the good vibes at all from last night's game. Because, okay, Curry scores 47. That's not even the story. The story is Draymond Green coming back. And in, 20 minutes? Something like that? Just absolutely dominating the game, and more so on offense than on defense. I didn't really see much with the defense, to be honest. Kind of hard. A couple missed rotations here or there, but no blinding Draymond Green playing defense plays. But offensively, it's no coincidence that Steph went off for the first time in a minute with Draymond back in there. I mean, first play down the court, they're running split action. Draymond on the block. Here you go, Steph Curry. Kevon Looney sets the screen. It was just everyone in the world knew it was coming, including the bots that fill out the Washington Wizards, and yet it was still just executed to perfection. And with Klay Thompson spacing, and he was up and down last night. Now Jordan Poole spacing too. Draymond, Steph, Otto Porter, get Looney in there sometimes setting some hard screens. There's something here. Now, Wednesday's the test, right? Wednesday's Boston. That's the best defense in the NBA, I think, bar none. Jason Tatum is a guy who, when he wants to be...
Best defense in the NBA better than the Warriors when they're healthy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the numbers do not support that at all. I mean,
Boston's
look at the numbers
defense
before...
You'll see on Wednesday, let me tell you, Boston's defense is the absolute truth. Now, I think that there might be a little bit of Eastern Conference... skewing, but the Eastern Conference is pretty good. It's just Boston's defense is incredible. And
I want to push back on that, by the way, real quick.
Yeah,
I want to push back on that, and the reason why I say that is because people have been saying that all year. The Eastern Conference is superior. They're bad. Yes, in terms of parity, it's impressive that 1 through 5, 1 through 6 is so close, and who knows what's coming out of there. Even though I think the Cavaliers have kind of dropped off a little bit, and you could say it's safe to say the top 5 is the real team. But you look at that, the Western Conference, the Denver Nuggets, for example, as the 6th seed, it has the same record as the Celtics. The Timberwolves are just a game and a half behind those guys. I don't think the West is as shabby as we're making them out to be. I mean, the Lakers suck, but no one still wants to play them in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I digress.
I wouldn't mind playing the Lakers in the playoffs. They're 10 games under 500. I mean,
with AD, what if AD's healthy though? What if AD's healthy? You still want that? I mean, I don't know.
It's a good question. Unless LeBron scores 50, I don't feel all that comfortable with their chances of winning.
That's fair.
I mean, they can't shorten the rotation anymore. Like, they're a hot mess. Now, the Pelicans, we can even have a conversation about. It's a moot point because of so many things. I don't think that there's really much difference at all between the Eastern and the Western Conference. I just think that is such a stark differential from where we usually are that it's worth noting, and perhaps we then get a little overzealous with our ratings of the Eastern Conference because it's like, oh, they are equal now. That's worth celebration. That's the biggest deal in the world. Nevertheless, I think Boston's first off, Boston's a very enjoyable basketball team to watch. So I think aesthetically speaking, on Wednesday, it's going to be a really great game to watch because the Warriors obviously took it to a whole other level. They've been kind of clunky, if we're being real about it, without Draymond. There were moments when you're like, oh, this is great. This is fantastic. But we were lying to ourselves. It's not the same without Draymond.
No.
And
clunky is actually being kind. I mean, they were atrocious in moments when they lost the 5 games in a row and what, 9 of 11. That was just a bad team.
Yeah.
So I hear you, man. That's It's great to have Draymond back. It really is.
What did you make of Steph's play last night? Because
incredible.
What was different?
It was one, for some reason, and again, this is where I don't feel like I'm as stats heavy as you when I analyze games. Maybe I'm wrong in that assessment, but
I don't think I have my stats out in front of me, so we're all going off.
So maybe maybe that is a poor assessment. I'm just basing that largely on what I hear a lot.
47 points. He was really good. No one's arguing.
He was very good, but I think a huge part of it is, and you actually you brought up a great point a couple weeks back about the psychological aspect of players in terms of the rookies not being played too much, where you don't want to mess with their confidence a lot. I thought that was actually a great point. And the same it goes with, I think, Steph, with Draymond coming back. He is that warm, comfy blankie that sets those screens that no one else can set, that finds Steph where no one else can find him. He obviously had the mojo. And again, this is where when people define what momentum is, which is such a vitally important variable in sports, it's basically just confidence. It's basically one side who doesn't have momentum has anxiety and fear. The other side is brimming with confidence and think they can do anything. And that translates, and Steph had that last night. So I don't see anything physically different. I mean, for example, the other game where he had 8 points, I think that was just the last game. I thought he looked great against the Bucks.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic. It wasn't an output issue. Impact was incredible. There's no question about that. But that wasn't like MVP Steph. It didn't feel as heavy as last night. Last night had a weight to it. And again, we do have to grade on the curve because Bucks, very good. Wizards, god awful. So there's that. By the way, Wizards are like 4 games back of a play-in spot. So
right, but and I talked about this with Kevin Danny yesterday, though. But the Wizards' record does not indicate who they are, just because they completely butchered that roster with the Dinwiddie trade, bringing Chris. I mean, they're nothing like what they were at the beginning of the season. I thought maybe the Kings might rival them for the worst team in the NBA, but the Wizards are garbage.
I mean, the Magic are god awful.
Them too.
The Rockets, I think it really depends on what we're really judging. I mean, statistically speaking, you could say the Rockets are the worst, but like the Rockets expectations versus reality, like no one expected anything from the Rockets besides this. Thunder, same thing.
Yeah.
So it's probably
the
Kings or the Wizards. I mean, maybe Pistons, Pacers. I can't believe the Pacers are this bad, though they punted it. Are the Knicks
and they beat the Wizards last week
in the NBA?
Maybe. Here's my latest barometer. Whatever the results are against the Lakers, that's how bad you are. So if the Lakers beat you, you're horrible.
Just lose to the Lakers.
I know. But again, that's a different. That was the final moment. Again, I'm looking at the Warriors a week ago today. A week ago yesterday and on.
Right.
Like that's the Warriors I'm looking at now. You're right. That is a blemish. But
it was a big one, and it felt like one in the moment.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're incorrect. That was some sour times indeed.
And LeBron putting 56 in. I mean, LeBron wakes up when he sees Steph. And anyway, so when we come back, you were in Stockton. I want to get a full recap because I haven't talked to you. No one's seen you on this show since. I know you've written some great columns for the San Jose. You've been pumping out a lot of content lately. I don't know if they're asking you to write more, but Great stuff, my man. And we're gonna delve into Wiseman and what you saw firsthand, because
Mm-hmm.
I do believe you can get 80 to 90% of the feel for a game with TV, but being there, you're getting a lot of intricacies. You're getting a lot of little moments and nuance that you just can't get on TV. And I don't know if
And
you saw that or not, but
it doesn't quite register unless you see it. You feel the game a little bit more. I think anyone who's ever seen high level basketball understands the separation. It's not like this in football, by
absolutely.
the way, not like this in
Yeah.
baseball, but basketball, there's so much minute movement. Yeah, I'm with you.
Great call. No, you're absolutely right. And man, by the way, your football coverage, what you've been saying about the Niners is so spot on. I
I'm
can't
sorry
follow that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, but
What do you
you
want me to tell
are,
you?
man. Like I like you are so spot on with the Niners. Like so depresses me as a Niners fan that you are 2 steps ahead of them in all of their offseason moves. That should not be the case. And that speaks, I think, partly to your intelligence and partly to the Niners just really falling flat with their little poker decisions they're making. But that's a total tangent. BetOnline, if you want to bet, is the place to go. They've been a longtime sponsor of this program. They're a great place not just to put bets, but also to find all the information you need. And college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. By the way, Dieter, are you a March Madness fan? Like, do you like this
Oh,
stuff? College basketball?
I'll watch it more or less wire to wire, but I have over the last couple of years stopped making brackets, and I have
Same.
found that has because I don't watch any of it. I used to be a big college guy. I grew up in Chicago.
Same.
Chicago outside. I mean, Bulls, college basketball, one and the same. People love that stuff where I grew up, but since I moved out to the West Coast, man, it just hasn't been a thing, and that's fine. I can still enjoy the bejesus out of it, and all respect to the people who still get their kicks off of it. Couldn't be me, but
Same.
still, respect.
No, I'm with you, man. I feel like the moment the one and done thing happened, and even before that, the talent's not there anymore. It's I don't know. That's
I
just
think
me. And
Steph
maybe it's
Curry
just
ruined
time.
it, if we're being honest.
Might have. Well, you can bet on March Madness for those of you that still love the action in the college game, and it's probably easier to bet on if you're an insider. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, betonline.net is the number one source for all your sports betting needs and information. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Bet online, where the game starts.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts is free and available wherever you get podcasts. He's Dieter Kurtenbach. I'm Cyrus Saatsaz. Dieter, you were in paradise last week, Stockton, California. That's the last time I'm going to make fun of Stockton. No one's come at me. They understand I'm joking. But
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel bad there. But you were in Stockton, and the whole media world was in Stockton. James Wiseman has now played 2 games. He's playing again tonight
He'll
for the
play
San
against
Cruz
Agua
Warriors.
Caliente.
Yes, and so tell us what your experience is like, man. Take the whole segment, please. I'm listening.
First off, I was looking around Stockton to come on this podcast and prove you wrong. Like, Stockton is lovely, and it gets a bad rap. And then I saw 2 crackheads trying to open up a fire hydrant within like 3 minutes of me getting off the beaten trail. And the Courtyard by Marriott is lovely, and there was a nice Chick-fil-A that I ate at twice.
There you go, Mr. Positive here. I love it.
Stockton.
Yes.
Go Stockton. One of those cities that I got up and left at 5 a.m. because it's like, nope, not going to spend another day here. So as much as you were bashing it before I went, here I am coming in hotter. Okay, let's talk about the game itself.
Yes.
That game indicated to me that James Wiseman needed a couple more. So, like, I'm very happy to see that James Wiseman is going to get this 3rd G League game. And it isn't to say that he couldn't just come back to the NBA right now. Physically, he's ready. That is bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Everything was, is he physically capable of playing in an NBA game? Yes, that was evident within 10 minutes. I mean, not even a playing time. It was evident within 10 minutes of shoot around. Like I showed up, there's James Wiseman, looks good, not sure what we need here, which is why most of the time you only have guys go down and just scrimmage or have, practice with Santa Cruz because the Warriors aren't around or whatever. He looks the part. He's James Wiseman. The reps aspect of this, and Steve Kerr said thousands of reps. I mean, the reps aspect of this, I don't think can be underrated. I mean, we're talking to coaches, we're talking to people on the periphery, and very clear reminder, he hasn't had any training camp. He hasn't had any summer league. 2 years, neither a training camp nor a summer league. He hasn't had extended periods of practice time with the Warriors. The one that you could argue he was going to get post All-Star break 2020, or I guess 2021 at that point, he missed because he didn't take the COVID test during the All-Star game. So he missed like 3 or 4 practices in a row, which the Warriors were calling mini training camp. He doesn't have NBA experience, compounded by the fact that he has almost no college experience, compounded by the fact that he played in a high school situation that wasn't necessarily as competitive as some of the others that we've seen throughout the year. No IMG Academy, no Oak Hill, whatever. He's, listen, he was doing AAU circuit and stuff, but he wasn't on some big time team. And it's the competitive experience that he has is severely lacking. And we don't know which way that's going to go, but the dude just needs to play basketball in competitive games with a whistle and a shot clock. And he just needs to play basketball. He hasn't played any damn basketball. So he looked good against Stockton. There was some rust early. Rust wore off. There were moments when you say, oh, man against boys, what the hell is he doing down here? There were some moments when you say, yeah, I can see him playing here some more. The fact that I had the secondary thoughts and that that primary thought of man against boys didn't win out when it was all said and done. My takeaway was more good than bad. I think that he was even more, there was even more good than bad in the second game against G League Ignite. I thought he was better in that one. Tonight, I think you take it to a whole other level. The dude needs reps, and it's clear that he's not going to get them at the NBA level. Not once Draymond's back. He can maybe get a couple of spot minutes here or there. Maybe he fills in for Bielitsa one night. Sometimes it's going to be Bielitsa for him. Sometimes it's going to be Otto Porter for him. Sometimes Jonathan Kuminga's going to be playing the 5. Sometimes, Kevon Looney's going to play 37 minutes. Sometimes Draymond Green is going to play a lot of 5. When Draymond is off his minutes restriction, I don't see a role for James Wiseman on this team. So keeping him in the G League, it's a tricky thing that you have to balance on the basis of, is playing with lesser competition helping him? But right now, absolutely, 100%. And I don't know when that will flip. I don't know when it's a waste of everyone's time. But there's really no alternative to get him serious playing time. There's really no opportunity for him to get those reps outside of playing in the G League right now. Because, again, he's not just going to show up to a team that is, once again, and as Draymond said last night, in the title hunt and just, everyone's going to be like, hold on, we got to beat this team to get our seeding, but let's make sure that James gets 10. Yeah, no one's stopping the game to make that happen. And that's honestly where the Warriors feel they're at right now. That the James Wiseman thing last year superseded so many of the other goals because they were just so concerned about making sure that that worked. And that certainly informed how they treated Moses Moody, how they treated Jonathan Kuminga this year, and they've been so much better at management. There's also something to be said for the players in and of themselves. But last year, they didn't know what the hell they were doing as first-time parents of a high-level prospect. And James Wiseman didn't know what he was doing. And they created sort of this 1A, 1B situation where it just never gelled. It never worked. And while the Warriors wanted to explore some of the space that they got into late last season, where they thought that Wiseman had sort of clicked because they had put the parameters around him, the dude just needs to play basketball. And again, it's just not going to happen at the NBA level this year, but he'll get a summer league so long as he stays healthy. He'll get a training camp. And I think we're going to have a very different conversation about this guy come October, November next season, as opposed to right now where had he come back earlier, maybe we're having a different talk right now. But at the moment, there's no room in the inn for him, and he needs the reps. Keep him in the G League another game, another 2, another 3. Give him some run. Let him get that confidence up. Confidence is a huge thing too. We were talking about that a segment ago.
Yeah.
Jordan Poole's 22 years old. He's riding a wave of confidence. Where has James Wiseman been able to draw confidence from ever in his NBA career? He can't say, well, I was whooping these guys' ass in college. Can't say it. Can't come out in the NBA level and say, man, I was whooping these guys' ass, because every time he'd do something good, he'd do 2 things bad because he was 19 years old. He needs to get some confidence up. The G League's a good place to do it. By the way, the G League team, they can use him a little bit. They don't mind having him around, having a really high-end talent for a team going for the playoffs. I can get behind that.
I have a couple of retorts to you on that, but first I want to save people money. Okay, gas prices are psychotic. Shame on the oil companies for doing what they're doing, but Rock Auto is available to save you money. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning? Example being, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. Mm-hmm. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home, where you don't have to worry about D-bags out there not wearing masks, since everyone's doing that now. I don't know why people feel safe. This thing hasn't gone away. Sorry for the tangent. And in your pocket. Save time and money when you use Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? An example being a Honda Odyssey fuel pump, $353 from a chain store, just $216 at Rock Auto. And they're a family business. They're serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. So just go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. He's Dieter Kurtenbach. You can follow him on Twitter at Dieter, and you can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRocho. First of all, following up what you said, I don't know. Me personally, I don't like bringing up the James Wiseman college thing anymore. It's yes, he played only 3 games. He had limited experience there. And in high school, he didn't play a lot in high school, in all honesty, either. But he does have 39 NBA games under his belt from a year ago. You're right. For every good thing he did, there was 1 or 2 negatives. But he also played on a horrible team. Like Stephen Curry almost single-handedly carried that team to finish 6 games over 500. I mean, Kent Bazemore was your starter. Andrew Wiggins was your number 3 option. Who's the guy? Kelly Oubre Jr. was one of their top scorers. Now you're looking at a team, at least offensively, where Wiseman can be out there with Poole, who's brimming with confidence now, Klay, we're finally starting to see the old Klay back, Steph, obviously. You have other shooters on this team now, like Moody and Otto Porter Jr., that creates space for a player like Wiseman to just catch lobs and just make easy buckets. He's got tremendous touch on his shot. I don't know if you noticed that when you saw him in person. I'm looking forward to seeing that in person, because you can't coach that. He's got a very natural shooting form.
He likes to shoot. He does have a very natural shooting form. It's a little line drivey.
A little bit, yeah. That's true.
Though, when you're that big, right? Like you don't expect
exactly
to look like Klay,
exactly.
He's a willing and able shooter. On the thought that I get where you're coming from with the college thing, but like the 37 NBA games.
Yeah, 39. Yeah.
39. Yeah, I get you. I understand where you're coming from there, but what did we really get out of those games? Like what
nearly 12 points a game. nearly 6 rebounds a game. We got in just 21 minutes of play for a 19-year-old rookie with 3 college games under his belt. That's what I see. And for me, and you bring up Bjelica, I don't want to see him ever again. I never want to see Bjelica out on that court ever again. He is such a defensive liability.
We're going to keep doing this Bjelica thing. There are matchups where he works.
No, but if you bring Wiseman in, not anymore. Like, I don't think you need Bjelica anymore. For those minutes that Bjelica is taken up, play Wiseman in that spot. Why is Belly still out there? The dude looks like an old, fat, slower version of Jokic. Like, smaller, less talent.
Incredible.
You're right. That's a compliment almost. I didn't mean that. I look, no offense personally. All right. This is where I use that term sports hate. Okay. Like I have no hatred toward Belly, but personally, man, I feel like at this point he's a detriment. You did your duties. You did your service the first half of the season.
They have to play him every night, right? Like they don't have a choice but to play him right now because of where the rotation is, because of where injuries are. There are matchups where he makes sense. There are nights when you go, oh, right. And there are nights where you go, this is a night where you would like to have James Wiseman. But along that, we can agree to that. We come along the same point then that doesn't mean that James Wiseman's going to play every night. And that's not something I think that the Warriors are comfortable doing right now. And I think you can make the same argument last year. There were matchups last year where it's like, why the hell is James Wiseman in this game? He was shoehorned in. He was forced into a game. And statistically, good numbers, as you just listed off. But, like, did anyone feel great about James Wiseman's rookie season?
No, I'll give you that. But I want to see him on the court. I feel like he's earned at least 10 to 15 minutes, so then we could judge him from there. You are 100% correct. Kerr is stubborn about this. Like, he does not – you could tell he does not want to play Wiseman yet. What do you think of those reports, by the way, from Anthony Slater, that there is – rift might be a strong word, but that there is some sort of – difference in opinion between the front office and the coaching staff regarding playing Wiseman, where the front office wants to see him on the court. Have you heard anything yourself, and what are your thoughts on that?
I want to be careful here.
Fair. Yeah, you should. I hear you on that.
Steve Kerr doesn't and shouldn't give a damn about anything other than winning a championship this year with this roster. And that has been his mandate since day one. Last year, I think it got extremely convoluted with Wiseman, with a guy like Kelly Oubre. And there were outside forces where I don't think it was, heavy-handed power or anything, but soft power, right? That kind of just, what you should do sort of tone and influence. Last year got too messy. Last year, they were trying to cook 3 things on the stove at one time. Steve Kerr is like, this is my pot. I am going to watch this pot. Like, I am just going to take care of this pot on the stove right now. Maybe we'll move to another one down the line. That pot is winning a championship. It's a bad analogy, but you get where I'm coming from. He was juggling too many things. And he is not going to come off of that because he is aware, this is a good bit of self-awareness, that if he tries to focus on anything else like player development or if that becomes his focus as the head coach of the team, he is going to take his eye off of that one and it's going to boil over. And if it boils over, there's no getting everything back. It's a risotto, baby. You got to be delicate. They have they revamped their assistant coaching staff this year as to create clear delineations in responsibilities. You have an offensive coordinator, you have a defensive coordinator. Mike Brown handles the rotations. You have a vibes coach, more or less. You have a big man coach. You have a full staff of player development people. Steve Kerr's job is to manage all of them. Steve Kerr's job is to be where the buck stops. He makes the final decisions on things. But Steve Kerr, his job more than anything else is to delegate and to make sure that those guys do the best job that they can while he maintains the bigger picture goal of winning a damn championship with Steph and Draymond and Klay and all of this talent, which is not going to be an easy thing to do. And keeping the locker room together. So, which is about the hardest thing to do in the NBA, despite having the professionalism of the Golden State Warriors. So, does the front office wants a lot of things. The front office doesn't have to implement it. right? The front office can come up with any pie in the sky idea they want. And listen, Bob and Steve have an incredible relationship. Still, to my knowledge, it's an incredibly collaborative operation that the Warriors have. Strife and angst, I don't think would be appropriate words to describe what my understanding is of what's happening in there, but they can have a difference in opinion. And I think that they could have a difference in desire. That doesn't mean that they're not unified on what the end result is. And we will ultimately see what it turns out to be. But like Steve Kerr has made his stance very clear again and again and again, which is James Wiseman has no role on this team until he earns a role on this team.
Yeah.
And by the way, it should be noted that that is how he handled Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody this year. He made it very clear to everyone, including the front office at the start, these dudes don't play unless I think they're worthy of playing. And if you don't think that's A-okay, and again, there's no angst or strife or
right.
butting of heads here, but it's pretty clear. Like, I'm the head coach of this team. This is what's best for the team. They have to win their spots. We have good veterans who can fill these roles. These guys could fill these roles, but they got to earn it. And they're letting Steve, run the show, run the team the way that he sees fit. Moses Moody has earned himself full rotation minutes, not spot rotation minutes, full. He earned that. Steve Kerr didn't give it to him and say, here you go, Moses, and it all worked out. No, like, he earned those minutes. He had to fight really hard to get those minutes. Damian Lee doesn't have a job now because Moses Moody earned those minutes. Jonathan Kuminga.
Rightfully so. I think a lot of us are happy with
100%.
that. On a 100%. Side note, yeah.
No, legitimately, it took longer for Steve Kerr to make that decision than anyone watching the games, right? Everyone else is like, oh, yeah, play that guy, including me, like months ago. Just like, play Moody. Like, just play Moody. But Steve's like, no, I'm going to go with the veteran until Moses Moody is better than the veteran. And it's very difficult for us to get a full gauge on that because there's also the behind-the-scenes stuff. And so that's just talking to people and hearing stuff. So Kuminga, same thing. But like Kuminga, a couple of injuries happen. Jonathan Kuminga gets a chance. Jonathan Kuminga comes through. Steve Kerr now can't justly say, Jonathan Kuminga, your minutes are being pared back, because he affects the game in positive ways when he's on the floor. If there was somebody, James Wiseman can get the exact same situation with Nemanja Bjelica, right? There's a trust with Nemanja Bjelica. It wavers, but there's still a trust. He's a veteran. They know, he knows how to set the back screen. He knows how to set a screen on the perimeter.
Yep.
He knows more or less where he should be on defense. Not that he's always there. Like, there is a trust there with him and with Otto Porter. If James Wiseman wants to be on this team as a center, he has to beat out those guys. And if the front office isn't totally cool with that, well, that's a tough break. And next year is a new season and they can draw everything up from scratch. But this team, as Draymond said last night, is going to win a championship. Now, I'm not sure I'm fully on board with him just yet. Wednesday is going to be a nice indicator for me. And certainly if they want to go on a run, now is the time to do it. But James Wiseman, I don't see enough time for him to earn the kind of playing time that I think everybody, including the front office, wants to see for him, because they want everything to be kumbaya and happy all the time, and they can have it both ways. And then Joe Lacob can show off to his billionaire friends how smart of an owner he is. Like, that's just not reality. Like, I just don't see James Wiseman having a role on this team. I don't know where he fits in. This team has 3 weeks left in the schedule. Like, he's playing in Agua Caliente tonight.
Yeah. I really hope Sunday is his debut. I really hope that Sunday Spurs game. That's what I'm penciling in.
That's a good spot to debut him too, because it's the Spurs.
I hope so.
And I don't think he's going to get 60 exactly. like Karl Anthony Towns, but how about 10?
Yeah, I literally, I don't see the harm in playing him 10, 15 minutes. I really don't see the harm
against the Spurs.
If he's failing you. Yeah, against the Spurs. And if he's failing you, if it's blatantly obvious he's hurting the team more than helping, all right, then reassess. And speaking of Draymond talking about the team winning the championship, I just want to play this quick soundbite to wrap things up. This is Klay Thompson backing up Draymond's virtual guarantee that they're going to win a championship this year.
Draymond said that you're going to win a championship. He made it clear it wasn't a prediction. He was saying it. You agree with that?
Yes. I do. I'm too much of a competitor to sit up here and doubt our team or give another team the nod over us. No chance.
Agreed. I don't see any other team. Yep. I thought the Bucks were like the biggest threat. When I saw that game, man, I don't see who's beating this Warriors team when they're fully healthy, but that's me. And
when they're fully healthy, they're right there, right?
Yeah.
And I do need to see a little bit more run from
Yeah.
fully healthy. I need to see them fully healthy. If we're being honest, I don't think I don't know when Andre Iguodala's coming back. I'm just going to presume.
Yeah,
he's
what's
not
that?
coming
Yeah,
back.
what is that about? That's a
Just
weird
presume
one.
he's
but-
not. Just presume he's not and be happy.
Yeah,
Listen,
call him an assistant coach now.
They have 4 games coming up that I think are legitimate, no question barometers. Their schedule from here on out, by the way, after the Boston game, they get 3 days off at home. Hopefully no one goes into party mode. But
Right. That is a danger. No, you're right. That's pragmatic, man.
Listen,
It's very true.
and they'll get caught. No, it's sorry, it's a little inside baseball. But
That's all right.
they play Boston on Wednesday. They'll play Miami the following Wednesday. They have a 5-7 all on the road. They have a Washington Memphis back-to-back on the road. What? Thank you, NBA. But Memphis
I know,
and
right?
Memphis and Phoenix, final week of March, on top of Miami and Boston. Like, those are games that tell you something. I mean, okay, warm up. Okay, Eastern Conference opponent, Boston. Great game. Great indication of kind of where you're at. Early, but still a good indication. Next week, Miami. Incredible indication. Just punt the game against Orlando. Who gives a damn? Play
Exactly.
Kuminga 49 minutes. Like, doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yes.
Miami, great indication of where you're at. Bam Adebayo versus Draymond Green. Fantastic indication. Again, I'll try to avoid the Miami nightlife. I'm glad it's a back-to-back. You get to spend a night in Orlando. You can't do anything bad in Orlando because there's nothing to do. It's like the Stockton.
No, you're right.
Memphis.
It's just flat. Yeah, go. Yeah, sorry.
Memphis, punt the game against Washington. Don't care. Memphis. I want to see them play Memphis because it will be a playoff game for Memphis. They'll treat it like such. I want to see that. I want to see how engaged they are. I want to see how focused they can be. I want to see where those matchups lie. I want the full-on playoff preview with Memphis. And then Phoenix on the 30th at home. That tells you everything you need to know. Rest of the month, who gives a damn? I don't care about Utah. I don't care about the Lakers. I don't care. You punt the rest of the games. I don't give a damn. I need to see them in those 4 games be at their best. Every other game doesn't matter. But, like, if they can look or build to the point where I'm like, oh, yeah, now we got something here. We can get back to that point where it's a no doubt in my brain that they're a championship contender. If they can play the Suns and beat them, if they could play them straight up, and I know no Chris Paul, but like let's get 4 point margin. How about that? Chris Paul's a 4-point player. If they can play him, or they can play without him, and and whoop up on the Suns a little bit as they have done before. Okay, now I don't have any doubt in my mind, but they got to regain the benefit of the doubt. One game against Washington, while very impressive and certainly leading us towards positivity, that doesn't do it for me. If they get their asses kicked by Boston on Wednesday, we're right back where we were. We're just thinking, oh, the personnel's better. Maybe it will turn around faster. So we got to see it.
That's fair. That's very fair. And thank you very much. We'll be back tomorrow to preview that Celtics game. Thanks for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. And again, Dieter and I will be back tomorrow to preview that and so much more. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Dieter, always a pleasure, sir. I'll see you tomorrow, my man.
Talk to you then.